is in the south, and the bulk of it really is in 4 positions. We've had a lot going on and quite a few changes with staffing duties. So one of those is a position that went from full-time or from part-time to full-time. So on that one, you're gonna see it showing up on the full-time section, but pulling out of the part-time section. That's the chief pharmacist. But she elected not to take insurance, so you will not see that change reflected down there on the insurance part. And then we had a pharmacy tech who looks like a really big leap on paper. What that was, it was a part-time position that we bumped up just a little bit when it went to full-time. And then we ended up loading that position up all the way to the regular full-time tech level. So we're just bringing that up to where it's in line with the standard for that position with us. We had 2 people moving up to significantly higher levels, so those had fairly significant increases. Those we worked with HR and just said, here's what they're doing, you tell us what that amount needs to look like, and so those figures came from HR. And the others are also changes in duties, but less substantial, so the increases are much smaller amounts. And then we had in the M&O a little bit there to draw your attention to. You'll see 28,000 for Sequoia office rental, and what we're wanting to do there is Sequoia has a very similar client base to who we serve. We're wanting to lease just an office space out there where we've got a very knowledgeable staff member who has worked through all of our programs, and we're hoping to just give her some office days out there to where she can be working with people who are in that stream of clientele and work with referring them out to our services for those who are appropriate for it. So that's what that number is, and then there's a corresponding 1,000 that you'll see for some supplies that relate to getting that space set up. And the only other thing is you'll see a 15,000, and that is relates to some provisions under our homelessness assistance program. And we did not have any change in travel or in capital.
You may have addressed this and been focusing on something else and not heard you, but on these salary adjustments for duties changed, as well as the pharmacists that you moved from part-time to full-time.
Yes.
Have those changes already occurred, or are these changes that you are contemplating doing to salary?
Some have already occurred. The pharmacist, for example, going to full-time, that we have done. The program manager that we work with HR on, that has been done. And the homelessness specialist.
Okay.
What hasn't been done? Just the pay raises, the 2 that significantly higher duties.
Carol, catch me if I miss any, okay?
Okay.
Let's see, so the operations assistant, the business manager, the maintenance.
Business manager has been done.
Say again?
The business manager has been done.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's when Carol has to come with me. Let's see, the custodial utility support.
Eligibility and intake haven't been done. Pharmacy tech, the first one hasn't been done. The navigator hasn't been done, and the part of that month, total in the pharmacy, part-time, full-time pharmacy tech hasn't been done.
Correct, yeah, where I was talking about that part-time to full-time on the tech, that is a two-step. That step one had occurred when we moved her to full-time and bumped her a little bit there, but the bringing her up to par with the regular level for that position has not yet been done.
So if you don't get a budget increase, how are you gonna absorb the increases that you're already given?
Well, the ones that we've already done, we had, we're really, really hoping that those were inevitable things that we had to do. We're gonna find a way to make it work. If we don't get budgeted for it, we're still gonna have to find a way, obviously, to come up with that. So we won't step down from it and undo them. They're critical roles, so gotta have them.
Christy, where's the Sequoia?
That's on
Where's that
36th
located?
Street, it's like 2400, I think,
I was
northwest,
just curious what part of town.
yeah, 2400 northwest 36th Street. It's that old, an old elementary school. City County Health took over it and has turned it into a complex with various kinds of services for low-income and elderly people. So very similar
Because
clientele.
I'm thinking those clients are still in that part of town, like the northeast, not really worried about transportation to.
Right, because this is,
Different
because
sides.
Sequoia is more northwest.
Oh.
So that's, part of the benefit is it gives us
To
a
reach
person in that area that can work with people who are already gonna be in the building and very likely will align well with what we do. So,
On the M and O portion where you're estimating that it'll be an additional 37,000 or so, this year you're looking to lapse 132 in M and O?
we're gonna lapse, and I was gonna bring that up as well. This year has been somewhat chaotic, between COVID and the impact of that, plus transitioning from some things that we were doing to things that were new, and then those things taking a lot longer than what we wanted to get off the ground. So I'm gonna anticipate that lapse is going to probably be more than what we're showing right there, but it's based on just the way that this past year has gone, so many unanticipated things. And so,
You don't expect that would be the trend for next year?
no.
I do think, to Danny's point, and this isn't just you, Christie, because we've had this happen before, when we give raises during the fiscal year, we gotta be cognizant of the potential budget impact that it's gonna make. And while we don't have to come and get permission or whatever necessarily, bringing us into the loop as early as possible, so we can kind of consider this. That way, if we say, hey, whoa, we don't know if there's gonna be adequate funding for that, it helps you make a decision on the front end. Because otherwise, it kind of boxes us in on funding salaries for entire fiscal years going forward, even if you have, so if you're gonna utilize savings in a year, to get raises, that's great, but what we have to consider is you may not have those savings in subsequent years, and so you need budget amendments for it, and we may not have that available, so.
Understand.
I know it's tough when you just have the one fund too.
Right.
Having
Right.
special items.
Right, that makes it a big
It does
difference.
make a difference.
Any other questions? Alright, thank you. Alright. Item number 3, review FY 21-22 estimate of needs for juvenile detention. And this will be not just detention, but bureau and
You're right.
all the budgets.
Okay, I'd like to start with detention. In salaries, we have requested an increase so that we can fund 65% of a new maintenance position. We're asking for a maintenance position. So if we get that, it would be a 65-35 split on the funding. And then last year in September, when we finally got an opportunity to finalize those budgets due to COVID, you all approved us for a new culinary arts position for the kitchen, and we just are asking for enough to annualize that for next year. We just got the funding for the September forward last year. In fringe, the only increase is due to premium costs and adding one family coverage at 65% for the maintenance position if we get it. And I broke that down just so you would have the amounts for each budget, salary and fringe. Hopefully that would help you out if you need it. In travel, the only change is we're just moving $3,500 from detention to the bureau, and we do this every year. We go back and forth depending on who's got audits, who's got this or that. So that really is just a wash overall. M&O is really no change. What we started the year, and if you look at page 2, it breaks it out. I think it makes it easier to understand. Because on the work program, it shows 531 going to 538. So, but it's really not a change in that regard, because we started the year this year with 553, 493. We took 22,000 out of M&O for capital projects, and I've broken them down and just moved it from M&O to capital. We want to reinstate that. And then the 15,000 difference, we'd like to transfer to the bureau, probably come back to detention next year, because again, it's associated with audit supplies and fees, travel to get their certificates, and so on. Do you have any questions about that? Okay. Capital, we're asking for elevator modernization, and you'll see in a minute when we get to that quote, it is done on a capital plan proposal of doing one per year. Obviously, the prices could change. We could run into some expenses that we don't anticipate if we do one a year, but that is an option in terms of how we might approach that. And that would be a 65-35 split. And the key watcher, key cabinet is a 100% detention. That's all our keys in detention, and ours has been broken for a long time. And then the access control computer, that goes with the new HB in detention in order to be able to control that remotely. We project about 147,000 in surplus. 55,778 would actually be, without any more transfers, that money would be in travel and M&O. And so we've outlined some projects that as we near the end of the year, if we haven't had some emergency come up or something, we're gonna try and knock some of these out with that 55. But we don't have any plans on moving any of the 147, any of the, obviously, the balance of that, would be salaries and fringe.
Well, could you also take care of the key watcher, key cabinet, and the access control computer? Those are $17,000 on top of the 22. That's within your 55, and you could potentially knock all those out now, and then we'd just be looking at the elevator.
I could say yes and then come back if something happens late in the year, if I'm tied for some emergency maintenance thing. That would be the only thing that would get in the way of it, and I can't anticipate what that might be, but.
Yeah, but like on the key cabinet, I would think that's kind of all right, we're ready to order it, let's order it. So you could do that a little bit later in this fiscal year to make sure that you have the funds, and then just order it, whereas, I don't know, on the access control computer, there might be lead time and then wiring and all of that. That may be something that you have to plan more for, but I would think on the cabinet, the key cabinet, that may be one of those deals that you can kind of wait and get that taken care of if that 55 winds up being a good number, and just order it and
Okay.
put it up.
Well, we can pull that out, we can pull both of those out, but you all are aware of it now, so it wouldn't be a surprise if the 55 wasn't a good number and I had to come back maybe in July or August and say, can you help me out on whichever? So would that be agreeable?
I think that it's an ability for you to move on some of that stuff pretty quick. I think that key cabinet is something that is probably really good idea to move on
Okay.
whenever you can, so.
That's fine with me. If there's no questions on detention, I'll move into bureau. In bureau, the only change in salaries would be the additional 35% for the maintenance position we've requested. And the same thing in fringe, premium costs changed a little, and then we wanna pay 35% of one family coverage for that position. In travel, we talked about this, that's just moving from one budget to the other, no change in the bottom line. In M&O, it's the same thing that we talked about really, except different numbers. The 15,000 is what I mentioned on moving from detention, court services back and forth. The 850 is just reinstating. It's 850, we took out at M&O, put it in capital to finish a project, we'd like to put it back in M&O. We project a slim surplus in the bureau. The budget's pretty tight. 51,000 is what I'm looking at right now, and all of it would be in salary and fringe, with the exception of maybe 3,000 of that being in travel, M&O, and capital. So we're just having to watch that one really close, but there might be some left. And the same thing with those, I didn't request those items that I listed. I'm just showing you that those would be some things we would anticipate doing at the end of the year if we had that surplus.
Do you know if you get a discount on those Seacoast Americans when you order multiples, like in bulk?
I don't know.
Because if so, you may want to check with Dan Matthews. I don't know what the situation is with theirs, but at one point, I think they were a little, getting a little long in the tooth.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point, I will.
You may want to check with him. He may need to order some as well.
We've died too many times.
Yeah, you can only bring them back so many times. That cat's only got 9 lives.
Okay, our special revenue are really pretty straightforward. The Title 4E is the federal grant that DHS has. It funnels through them, and they sift it out to agencies who provide certain services to children, youth under the age of 18. And so I just we pay for 4 positions out of it, salary and fringe, their cell phone stipends, if they have any training or travel expenses. We buy our drug testing eye cups out of that deal. We buy youth bus tickets, and we also pay the 17% charge to the JBI, who does all of the accounting and all that stuff for the feds. The JAB grant, that was a probation improvement project, federal grant that we got back in 2015. And we just have a small balance left in that, about $3,500. So we're just sitting on it. If and when a probation improvement project comes up, that's what we can use the money for their training or something to improve their program, but it's sitting there. The formula grant, this was a long time ago. Apparently they had a program where youth would come in and pay $25 a session to attend life skills. And they had this set up somehow through this grant. I have tried to find out information on this and how we might be able to access the funds. Do we need to return the funds? We haven't done this program in years. And I've been unsuccessful so far. So the money's still there, we're not touching it, and we're still researching it. But that's how that got to $24,875. And that balance, you can look, has been the same for a long time. Hi. The JD prevention is a grant, again, many years ago. It was a collaborative project with the Oklahoma City Police Department, and they served as mentors for our youth. I can't get anyone at Oklahoma City, I can't get anyone at the PD, no one knows anything about this. But we have $2,691 in there, so. Probation fees, you all are familiar with that. We use those funds that we do collect, pay partially for psychological services for probation kids. And there's a work restitution, that's the last one, and its balance hasn't changed in years either. And I can't get any information on this. I've looked up stuff here, I've contacted people, no one knows anything about it. My business manager said it was in place before she got here 17 years ago. So, I don't know. But before I leave someday, I'd like to find out how the county gets access to that $88,000. Because I'm sure that there's something appropriate and that could be approved that could be used for. But that's where we're at.
Back to detention, on your, on revenue side, what did you utilize to come up with your amount that we're getting from OJ? Or did you just use the 50 times the current rate that they talked about, the 108.63, or how did you come up with that? I think you put 1.9 million.
Yeah. The 1.9 is, I'm pretty sure that's just the 108.63 times 50.
Times 50, okay.
Danny and I have been talking about that the last couple of days, and the invoices will reflect the change beginning of November of the higher rate.
Is the 108 the higher rate?
No, the 108.63 is the 85% rate, and effective November 1st, the law was changed saying that OJ had to pay 100% for the kids that were in their custody, which has been part of the whole issue all along. So I don't know what they're gonna say 100% is, but it seemed to me if they had it in writing that 85% is 108.63, you can do the math, and 100% is 127 something, so. Did you all receive this?
I was gonna make a motion.
I'll beat you to it, I'll second.
I make a motion to receive the document from juvenile.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Ayes have it. Are there any other questions?
So I guess in that 88,000 deal, you checked that records, the county clerk, the court clerk can neither have anything on it. That's weird.
I know. I even went, who did I work with? I worked with, I don't think it was Sharon, but it was someone in that office about a year ago. And we tried to guess about when the program would have been in effect and went back and tried to find minutes, maybe in a board meeting. I mean, it's somewhere, but I just haven't located it yet.
Next step might be a question to the auditors, and then I know sometimes we're trying to clean up some old stuff.
That's a great idea.
Check with the auditors, and then they've kind of told us to get a DA opinion.
Okay,
And maybe you can just close it out and move it to something else that's along the lines of what maybe that was intended for. Obviously juvenile stuff,
thank you.
maybe.
Anything else?
Finding that Easter egg.
Yeah, I know. Might not be easy.
That's it? Okay, thank you.
That's it, thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks.
All right, item number 4, review FY 21-22 estimate of needs for election board.
I just barely made it.
So you didn't even get to catch your breath.
Oh, and I'm hurrying too.
So
Madam
you'll go
Vice
up over
Mayor.
there, you need to sit up there, you can.
You preaching?
See your bill that you asked about yesterday, I was up there, lots of people about it. So, I don't know if it's gonna wind up.
I know not what you speak.
The deputy bill, okay. I was like, seriously?
Okay, the election board's budget is pretty straightforward like it always is. The line items are the same, except we have added one new one. The request is for $39,491 less than last year. It does include 2 new positions. 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago, the election board had 16 positions. We still have 16 positions. And last year's elections proved to us that we do not have the manpower anymore. We really need 2 new positions. He is also requesting some pay increases for some of our people because the workload has just gotten more and more demanding. They're really having to take on a lot more. And then our new line item is retirement payouts for 2 employees.
Where do you show that payout? Is it on the salary?
Now that salary calculation is the 2 biggest ones. Totals, I think, about 40,000.
Oh, I see it.
It's assistant secretary, and did you find it?
Yeah, I see it over in the notes, right?
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, absent ballot assistant.
So the salary adjustment, the 23,000, that's for payout? Is that what you're
Is
talking
that-
about?
Yeah, that's a payout, and that one is.
Would we want that there under the individual position for salary? Because then next year, it's gonna look like that your salary, when you go to replace that position, is
Increase.
89, almost 90, yeah, $89,000. I would think you would,
Note it somewhere else.
and it's also, when you put it in here, it's going to,
Fringe.
yeah,
Fringe will get calculated.
it's
on
gonna
it.
go into
Well,
your.
fringe will get calculated on.
Oh,
Well, no, like, not the 12% retirement,
no, you wouldn't do.
you wouldn't have that, so I would think you would just take those
I think
lump
you
sums
should.
and put them in your kid or something. I don't know.
It's the first time we've done that, so I didn't know either.
When is this person retiring?
Carla is planning on retiring before December, and Jan, anytime between January and March.
I would do kind of like what we've done before. I mean, we never budget for that kind of stuff and not include it in the budget. And if your salary account is short next fiscal year because of retirement payouts, we can always move money from reserve to your budget. I think that's the cleanest way to do it.
I think so too.
Okay.
Unless I'm missing something, it doesn't look like the salaries and wages on the budget request worksheet is pulling over correctly from the salary comp page.
Yeah, that's possible, because it looks like it was going down. Could just be a formula.
And no, I think it's going down because of the
transfer.
the part-time and the temp numbers are going down.
Yeah. I got you.
You see what I'm saying? If you look at the FY 21 adopted budget versus what the proposed budget is, that's higher, but you're showing a difference of negative 20,000.
Yeah, there's a formula problem.
Oh, it's not
Right,
carrying
so,
that
if
new
you look-
position
so
of
look-
84,000
Yeah,
over.
so the difference of 84,000 doesn't pull over that, to tell you all.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, so, does anybody else have any questions on this? This may be one that, especially since there's a formula error, we might wanna receive this again at a later date. And Cheryl, I'm not telling you what to do, if you wanna take the payouts out on the updated one, you can. I would think that that's the route that we would look at as far as funding those.
Take them out, leave them out totally,
Yes,
okay?
and then if, if next year, because, I mean, we don't know, you may have 5 people retire, you may have nobody retire, we don't really know what that is. And if you don't have enough salary money via, vacancies or whatever to cover those expenses, we can always move money from reserve over in the middle of the fiscal
Okay.
year for you to cover those payouts. But whether you include it in there or not, we'll still need to receive this with the updated formula correction.
Okay, so you guys will work on the formula for me?
Yeah, I'll work on it.
Thanks,
Send it over to you.
All right,
are we good?
we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item number 5, review FY 21-22 estimate of needs for the county treasurer.
Good afternoon. I did pass out one document, and I will make a motion to receive.
Second.
There's no colored charts on here like Danny's
No,
yesterday.
no, I don't do like Danny does.
That's a good thing.
We've got a
You can take
motion.
this handout home with you.
Oh.
No,
We need to
that's-
read those This is a document.
Hang on real quick, we got a motion to receive the document, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second, all those in favor say aye. Aye, any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Christie.
Oh, you bet. This is a document we would do regardless, just showing our 3 funds. We always plug in our estimated needs, and what we're really after with this is those percentages. And we're targeting in on the percentage of our full budget that's paid out of resale. That's the area that the auditors are constantly watching for us. Anyways, our total budget is 6.3. And like I said, that 80% out of resale is what we're still trying to work on getting down. I did finally attach, I brought this up several years, where we got a discussion item, a write-up on how much we were paying out of resale that wasn't following the statute. So I did attach a copy. That was 18-19 fiscal year. Because of that discussion item, it was the next fiscal year, 19-20. We had asked to move one person over to the general fund, which DET recommended and we got funding for. We did the same thing for 2021, and we're now in our 3rd year of asking for an employee. So you'll see that in the budget.
Christie, do you think if we're able to do that this year, do you think going forward, you guys will be in a good position, or do you think?
I don't mind asking the auditors.
Okay.
I know they're they like where we're headed, and I've heard 74-75%. Whether that percentage, when I say we're trying to get the 80 down, that's what we're striving for. And I don't mind checking with them.
Okay.
We are currently in a treasurer's review right now, and I think what kind of got us a little, I don't even wanna say worried, is for the first time during a treasury review, which is our actual second audit that's on our office, that we have to do by statute every year, is the auditors asked for copies of a full year of our resale payroll. They normally ask for 3 months, so we're just kinda, we're doing our due diligence by putting this on the record and asking. Let me, on the 3 funds, one other thing to point out on the resale, being a special revenue, it does collect quite a bit of money, and I think I give this update every year. At the end of the fiscal year, we have to declare an excess in that fund, and 1/3 of that excess goes to cities, 1/3 to schools, and 1/3 to county general. So the bottom section is what over time has been the county share of that 1/3. It doesn't show up in the budget cycle now, it always shows up after the fiscal year when we pick it up in the September supplement, so it's always picked up there to use. Our total general fund increase is $110,006. I think we do have a formula error in the capital section as well. It was not calculating correctly, so when you go across, the capital increase, well, it's actually, should be down 3,000. So that whole little section, those formulas. The increase is attributed to $87,974.94 in salary. The bulk of that is asking for one position to come from resale over to general fund. It's an assistant supervisor, or assistant, it's the assistant investment clerk. That backs up Mark's cycle. She also has bookkeeping duties, but she is Mark's backup if something happened to him. She's on all the accounts and can fully handle that. Her salary is $62,700 is what we're asking to move over. The rest of the increase in salary is due to Mr. Freeman's, when their salaries went up, and then about $7,900 is bringing chief deputy up to the cap, and we did raise a few starting salaries to compete with other offices. This will be the second time we've had to do that, so we don't lose somebody to another office, not outside the county, within the county. Fringe is up $24,931.52. That's gonna be the employer premium increase, and then the fringe that goes along with the position we wanna move over. 100 in M&O is for subscriptions, and again, capital should go down 3,000, not add. On our resale budget, usually when we present this, the last few years, we did it differently this year. Usually when we're asking to move a position from resale to general fund, we put them in both budgets. We didn't do that this year. So when you're looking at resale, if we don't get the funding to move the assistant investment clerk over, then we will have to amend resale matter. I think that was getting confusing with our account. We will have one more amendment on resale, and I apologize, we didn't get the contract in time when we had to do the estimate of needs, but that's for Brandon. He's a sheriff's deputy that we have in our office, and his contract does have an increase on it, but he's paid out of resale. The only other thing in resale that's going up is gonna be in capital. It's a pretty big expense. We're looking at some big equipment that's been aged out. And the guys are looking at, out in our resale shop, I think when it was originally built, we did I don't even know what you call it. It's the whole, when you bring in your vehicles and you can get under and do oil changes. Pit. Yeah, we now have ramps that bring stuff up, and they want that space, so they're gonna fill it in. So some of that's to get that all filled in and concrete over. So, what, Miles? Oh,
Yeah, I was just thinking it'd be real easy for you just to call one of us and we have to overrun one day, we can fill it in.
We could do that. I don't know if they've really gone out for contract or
I don't know.
what their estimates have been. That's just something.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's also odd getting rid of the pit.
Huh?
It's also odd getting rid of the pit,
I know.
because we've got both, and
You have both?
yeah, cause
I
there's,
think that's what, we were just going off David, he's our supervisor out
yeah,
there.
and it's really kind of a opinion kind of thing, whichever one you want, so.
Gotcha.
You're a little too far away from District 1 for us to be able to
Yeah.
move over there.
Where is
No.
it?
It's next door to us. I mean, I can like hit a wedge.
I can see that as being too far for you guys. Absolutely.
Anyways, that's everything. Mortgage tax is down. It's always down in our request because of the 90% that we have to estimate. It's not a big fund. I foresee us having some increase once the year is out, only because of all those refinances. This is $5 on every mortgage that gets filed, so. But that is it, if you have any questions.
Would that employee,
Do we wanna move over?
yeah, would that bring you right at the 75?
I don't know. Well, I'll have to do it.
Um,
I don't think we're there yet.
Just
I don't
curious.
think it moves it that much.
I don't think so.
Being that budget's so big, to bring over only 62, I don't think it's gonna take us down. No, because that budget's 5 million.
Yeah.
And again, we're not at court case level, we're not at reportable finding, you know, it was discussion and they definitely watch it.
Yeah, you're gonna need about 300,000 to move 5%.
Where's number one? I think if we show progress. That's all I have.
Anything else? Anyone? All right. Item 6, discussion and possible action regarding countywide imagery service with Nearmap in regards to assessor's estimate of needs for FY 21-22. Mike?
In the attachment, you'll see a quote set forth by Nearmap. As some of you may recall, about a year ago, when we went with this new service contract, we went as a countywide approach for all elected officials to come in to join that group. I think the clerk's office came online with us, shared a part of that expense. This year, the quote is $140,000. That's up from the quote that they gave, or the price that we paid last year. Actually, it was about $85,000. That was a special incentive that they gave us to hopefully entice us to continue that service with other groups. So that I bring this up simply because this will come back into play when we get into our visual inspection numbers. I know that we've talked about in the past that if the county wished to come in together as a whole, if we wanted to fund that all from the general reserve through the assessor's monies, then we would do that, and just, it would be the lead point on that contract service where everybody would still have access to their aerial photography for use either on their websites or their personal PCs, so forth. I think the clerks is using it for a mapping website that they're using. Of course, we use it for our services as well. Anybody have a question?
So it's $65,000 more for this next year than it was this year. Are we getting anything else, or is it just that we got you, so now we're gonna get you out?
Well, it will continue with 2 full flights.
But I'm saying in addition,
It's the same that they gave us for that. It was actually almost a partial year because of the timing that it took them to get all this worked out. It was about 2 or 3 months over, so it was just kind of a smaller piece, so they gave us that discounted rate. But it will be $140,000 versus the $85,000 that we paid, I believe, in full last year.
And this is billable to reval, right?
Well, we're not, if the county decides not to go in together with that, we're going to reduce that back to our, you'll see that in our ask in our BI, that we're gonna go back to just our service, which is the 1 full flight a year, not the 2 full flight. So it's about 95,000 is what we're gonna go with for just that service, if we decide the county doesn't wish to proceed with that. I mean, we're happy to, I guess, be the front runner on this and deal with all that work, and everybody has access to it. I just need to know if you wish to fund it and how you wish to go about that.
okay, so the county as a whole doesn't wanna go with it. Instead of being 140,000, it would be, what'd you say, 90,
I'm projecting
95,000, and you would do that through which account?
through our VI, through our visual inspection.
Visual inspection, okay. But if the county does do it, it's 45,000 more, and you would fund it where are you wanting to fund it?
Well, that 95 is what I would still come out of our VI, so I'm looking for.
Okay, so then it would be 45 out of general.
For general.
Okay.
And that would give access to all county officers, any employee of the county. If it goes back to just the assessor, then we're gonna have to have a talk with Danny's office and see if you guys wish to continue that service. And then it'll only be open to those that subscribe to it. Well, I think you guys did kick in $11,000 or $12,000 last year, so thank you.
Did we use any of the CARES funds for this
No.
at some point?
No.
Okay, cause I thought we had talked about it, cause it was keeping your guys from having to interact with the public, right?
We did utilize a service called the change detection, which is a separate service,
Okay,
but it does utilize this on top of that for that piece.
okay.
Yep.
Alright. Just.
Yep.
So since it was less and it was a partial year, did you get 2 flights or 1 flight?
We received 2 full flights, one that was in December,
Oh, and then.
one that's coming in April.
Okay.
It also included the, what are called oblique, which are photos taken at a 45-degree angle from north, south, east, and west, so that you can do a 360 view around the property. That same service would continue. Now, if it goes back to just the 1 full flight, it would be the 1 full flight overhead plus the 1 flight at angle. So that would be the December flight. So it makes a difference. Some people like to see foliage. Just depends on your use of the service. We like photos with no photos so that we can see structures on the ground.
Did you guys use it in your office?
We do. Don't know if we have a preference, foliage or no.
I can tell you, for our office, we will continue with that service. Whatever happens here, because we've got to have it.
I understand.
Yeah, I'm just wanting you to know that if the county wishes to do it, it's an additional 45.
And do you have that 45 included in your general fund budget?
No.
No, this is the one that we can measure the roads, et cetera.
Measure roads, you can measure linear surfaces, area measurement, but you can also measure height
Right.
with the obliques, which is unique to that service. So that if you wish to measure a road, the width of a road, the height of a bridge,
Yeah.
the width of a river, an embankment, pipelines.
How much have rivers moved over the past
I was getting
15
to say the
years?
same thing.
Yeah, and that also gets you
If
access.
it'll tell you, if it'll predict that, I'm taking it to
No,
Vegas.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
has moved.
Well, it
yeah.
gets you access to all their previous imagery as well, which
Yeah.
goes back to 2014, I believe, so.
Yeah, so that would
So
help.
you do get more than just 1 year, you're gonna get any previous data or flights.
I'm thinking you could go back, pick a year,
Yeah,
kind of recent, and then look from there maybe.
yeah.
But that'll make more sense as we go into our VI piece that I wanted you to see, so you'll see that 95, I'm requesting that instead of the 140.
Well, Danny, so you guys are planning on using it again, and you pitched in how much?
I think it was, do you remember?
Just under 12, it was
15,
11.
12.
11,775 was what it was last year, so if we did the same thing, I can't tell you off the top of my head.
So you, okay. So you got 30 million.
Yeah, looking at it that way.
I will verify that we definitely want to continue to use that, but I think we do.
Okay. I mean, I'm just thinking that, I know the engineering and then the highway districts probably would love to use it, if we could ever get to the point to where we could use it. I mean, for our matters of what we would use it for, it would be highway funds. Now, engineer, we could throw 10,000 there, and then each one of us chips in 10,000, and then we pay for it in full. We get our 2 full flights, and everybody's kumbaya and gets to use the program, but.
But it's not being used right now by the highway districts.
No,
I
not
don't
yet.
think it is now.
No. And that would be the engineer's office actually using it.
Yeah, that's,
Well, and I'm sure my superintendent would use it extensively as well.
So what makes it from just you all using it versus the county using it? Like if a second office is coming online,
It's probably licenses, I would guess.
okay,
They have, they assign user rights based upon email setups. So they give a blanket for all of Oklahoma County. So they don't know we only have a certain number of employees, so if we exceed that, they're gonna go, who are these other users?
of course, yeah.
So, and that's the thing about it, is it's set up by a user account in that manner. So that you log on to a website with that service, bring up the information, do whatever work you gotta do.
So let's say
So
that.
for
oh,
140,
sorry.
do we know how many users that would be in total?
It would be as anybody that has the oklahomacounty.org email, it'd be every employee.
Will they come out and do training on how to use it,
Absolutely.
et cetera?
Absolutely.
Because I think that would be,
or could we just slide Stacy Trumbo in on what we currently have, and I have to pay $140,000, just have one more user? Cause he's the one that would, for the highway districts, I mean, if we're engineering a project in-house, he's either gonna be engineering it, or he's gonna be looking over whatever's being engineered.
so the crazy thing about this program, when I saw it in action, is you can actually take an existing road and on these high definition pictures, you can sit there and outline it. And you can go out and you can figure quantities, and that's where it kicks to us, and Stacy's not gonna mess with that.
Yeah, that's true.
So you could actually figure your asphalt, your concrete, your quantities off of this program.
So it would help estimating too,
Oh.
not just building a project.
Well, and then I'm
It
not
helps
having to
them
have my superintendent or a road foreman out there with a wheel, or
Right,
some of them have the fancy programs on their trucks, and some of them don't. I think we have one, I think you have one, but I don't think they do. This would obviously make that a whole lot quicker. They're not leaving their office to go out there and do it, but it's, I watched the definite, examples and everything that they gave, and I stood around and talked to the guy for a while of how it would work for roads, and that was, I saw that as a huge time saver.
Yeah, we do the same thing if we need to verify an appraisal or a measure of a property, we bring it up, quickly measure it.
Yeah.
And, because sometimes people will call us and say, well, you don't have this measured right, and rather than send someone 30 minutes out, pay them the mileage fee and all that, we can quickly go on and see, yeah, we need to back out there and do it, if not, we're okay.
Yeah.
So,
And when I say high definition, I mean, it's
and
not Google,
no, it's not.
it's a whole lot better.
Yeah,
It brings you down
It's
pretty tight.
It's to a 3-inch resolution, meaning
Yeah.
pixel represents 3 inches on the ground.
can you do core samples too?
That'd be nice.
Well, I thought too about emergency management, we talked with him about it in regards to emergency situations, whether it's fire, flood, tornado, things of that nature that.
Yeah, and antennas and who's wanting to put how much on time, we've had those arguments in the past, yeah.
You can-
So,
Yeah,
zoom
they'll
in and
actually
see it.
measure the tower.
Right, you can measure the height of the tower,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I think it has a lot of benefit for us. It's just, I don't know, I think we're discussing 45,000 more than I thought we would, but.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea, just to. Did you say you were or weren't?
He was gonna verify.
You're gonna verify.
Here's my question though, to get us in, last year they got us at 85. Now to get us in for countywide, it's 140. What's it gonna be next year?
Yeah, can we do
Are we
a
gonna be
5 year?
200,000?
The projections that they laid out for me is 140, 130, 125, 120.
Really?
That's the projections that they laid out for me. But we're still waiting on an annual contract. I've never done a multiple on this piece, but it's something that we could look at, that
Yeah,
the
do the
district
5
continuous
year
service,
with
do the 5-year.
automatic.
So we skip the 140 year and get the county on when it starts going up.
We'll catch you
I'm
next
sure
year.
that's not how it works.
We'll catch you next year.
You gotta pay the 140 first, and then
Yeah, because they're gonna put their program
on,
And the license. I
I'm
mean,
sure, yeah,
It's
for
just
the
like
setup.
Microsoft and all that nonsense. Everybody's got their own license. They want you to pay for it, so.
But it also, like I said, it gives you the ability to present that imagery onto a web service that is unlimited use to the public, and that's what we do. Now, it doesn't get you the oblique, the angle photos, but it gets you the overall from above, plus all their previous flights. So, it's a definite advantage for us and the public to be able to see that when it comes to assessments,
And then the twice,
December and April.
I don't have any more questions.
Okay.
I'm for it. Whatever.
All right. Are we working on the general fund now, or what are we?
Yeah, that's next.
Let's go ahead and do that. Item number 7, review FY 21-22 estimated needs for county assessment.
Looking at salary and wages, the difference that you're seeing there will be the difference for the adjustment for the elected official and chief deputy. And then, of course, fringe will come into play behind that. In travel, we're asking for no change. Moving on to M&O, you'll see a change in regards to what's called Just Appraise. That's the piece of software that automatically scans deeds, pulls all the information out of it, and gets pushed into our system without having to type it. It was a partial contract of 75 last year, and it's annualized at 96, which we discussed last year as well. So that's why you're seeing that change there. The GIT imaging at 535 is just a change in their quote. The biggest changes that you'll see is in our capital outlay is we're looking to replace some of the PCs that are getting older with printers. And then we're following MIS's lead in regards to Microsoft 365, which is your Excel, Word, and so forth, and that computer software. Right now, I think we're on Office 2016, so we're 5 years behind in that. Other than that, there's no new employees, same number, pretty simple. Most of it's just in M&O and capital.
So that 11,830, is that gonna be the annualized for 365? You have to renew that every year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the part coming out of general. There'll be another part coming out of VI for those individuals that are on VI, so we're trying to do all the entire office.
Sorry about that.
You should be.
It's been one of those days.
Seems like they all are lately.
Any other questions on general?
Says you're asking for 20 new employees.
Sometimes we feel we need that. We'll move on to VI, that's next? All right, we'll move on to VI. You'll see that we're looking at about a $90,000 comeback at the end of the year for salary, wages, and fringe. Lead off. And then moving into salary and wages, we are asking for one new part-time position. That will be a GIS intern. We've had a great program with the intern, where we've had a couple of them there. They're working on their bachelor's. We have had one that is working on a master's even. We're starting to adopt that mapping data conversion that you're gonna see down at M&O. That's the $100,000 less change. We're in that conversion now, and those interns are gonna be really working on that conversion data. It's kind of a lot of grunt work, but it's good experience for them and a great way for us to get a lot of work done. So fringe is just associated with that change. There's no change in travel. drop a little bit of money in our postage, as we think that COVID's probably gonna come into play where values are dropping in regards to that, discussion we had about working with less money this year overall. That's kind of what we're seeing. And we are asking for some additional MiFi units for the telecommunication services. That's so all of our field appraisers will have MiFi as they work in the field. And moving on, you'll notice at the top for the aerials, that's where I pushed the 95,000 for the previous item we were just talking about with the near map service. There is a 12,000 increase on our contract maintenance quote with ESRI. That's all of our mapping software. You'll see a 12,000 increase for Patriot maintenance. The contract has up to an annualized 6% increase. They're asking for 4%. You'll notice a decrease of about 49.5 for cost tables. This year, we're only going to buy cost tables that are associated to commercial properties. We're going to use our modeling program in regards to all of our residential properties, so a significant decrease there. Small change in our Bird GIS, that's our mapping website. And the big change you see is 100,000 decreases. Last year that was funded, and it's already been awarded, and we're starting that conversion process now. There are some changes in the capital. We're looking at new computer equipment. We're looking to buy new service tablets. We try to keep those tablets with our appraisers in the field on a 3-year cycle. 3 years on a field tablet's pretty harsh when it comes to field work. And a lot of things quit functioning, batteries don't charge, keyboards break. So we found that replacing those every 3 years is the best process. We're also looking to buy a new server, a couple PCs. Then you'll see the change in the computer software at 20,000. That's following in line with Microsoft 365 for everybody that's on this inspection cycle, the BI cycle here. Other than that, that's all we have. And that's also, I guess, the fund that county pays 10% portion of. Any questions? That just leaves us our revolving fee fund, which is pretty simple. That's a revolving fee for when we sell data that comes into our mapping department, which we're only allowed to spend that money for hardware, software, services in regards to mapping and GIS systems. So, pretty simple. Now we tell Danny, it starts with us, and I know it ends typically with the treasurer collecting money, but typically our assessments generate 82% of the annual with general funds.
What's the other 18%?
I'm
All
guessing
the
it
other
comes from all the
miscellaneous
other
revenue.
special revenue funds.
All the other special ed.
Yep, so.
Any money tree.
And the money tree. Where's that?
I think it died.
It's
An ice storm or
it
something.
is-
It got caught by the ice storm.
Ice storm took it.
Nice.
It's in the pit.
It's got
treasure
cobras, I
reset.
can tell you that.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on any of the assessors items? Not, on to item number 8. To review FY 21-22 estimate of needs for District 1. All right, if you guys will, let's start at the salary page. We're splitting most all of our downtown staff between highway cash and general fund. One of the positions that's listed as part-time special projects that will be straight out of general fund. That's an individual that has been working this year, especially with COVID and having, work from home and stuff. He helps a lot in the office, answering phones and helping with some of the projects that we need done. Overall, we're asking for $8,205 as an increase in our salary account. The biggest change on our budget request is related to fringe and benefits. We've got the same number of employees on insurance next year as we have currently. The one change is one of those individuals is gonna move from single to family, and then we have the cost increase related to the employer share of health insurance. So that's the change on fringe benefits. Travel, we're looking to stay the same. M&O, a little bit of a reduction there in several items, a total of just over $4,000 reduction in M&O. Capital outlay, $7,500, it's a $2,000 increase. It's really, we had moved money though from capital up to M&O due to the 90% earlier on not to the 90%. We had another school project that we were adding in there. So this actually just replaces that, puts it back down into capital. So that is our request. Any questions on general fund? Okay, highway cash. Same thing, you can flip to the salary page. You can see all of our yard employees, and then some of our downtown staff is listed there. We're not looking at expanding our roster at this point in highway cash. We've got roughly the same. We've got one individual that's at the yard that is switching from single to family, so that's noted on here as well. But that's our highway cash.
Cody, what's your constituent admin assistant going down? What is that?
It went down just because of moving between general fund, and we're switching around how we're, who's where. I think this year we had one of them significantly more in highway cash than general fund, or I'm sorry, in general fund than highway cash, and we're trying to level all of that stuff out. Salary's not actually going down, it's the same, it's just the allocation between. Any questions? If not, move on to item 9, review FY21 estimate of needs for District 2.
Okay, so looking back at the salary page here, you'll see a lot like District 1, we do have 3 positions here that we do split between our highway cash and our general fund. We do have 1 position that is completely general fund that you'll see there. Really the only difference here is we are wanting to add a part-time administrative assistant that you'll see in new positions. And I think that that's really the main cost difference here that you'll see. Going back to the budget request worksheet, you'll see the increase on salary and wages. We did add $2,000 down in capital to purchase a couple of more computers. We're kind of trying to spread that out. We purchased some, I think last year, no, it was the year before, and we'll need to purchase a couple more. We did allocate or ask for $5,000 for furniture because of a move to the 9th floor office that I went ahead and just took off there. Because that's been satisfied. And so those are really the main differences that you'll notice for this year prior to last year.
And what's the line, the services other that went down so much?
The 700,000, that was, an amendment added, that was, going to be reimbursement for, tree limbs, brush removal. That 700,000 that was allocated to our general fund, that we dispersed to the highway fund, as it's spent.
You'll see that in ours too. So what it really is, we're just $700,000 less this year. We're trying to play ball with everybody.
Yeah, us too, yeah. Yeah.
You believe that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
That was moved from reserve a couple months ago.
Yes.
Now I see.
And then
Yes.
remember that,
I know.
those chunks will come back 87.5%, and then,
When's that coming back?
I can give you Biden's direct number, hence the need.
Exactly.
It will be sometime in the future.
Yeah.
It will be in the future, yes. So, any questions about general fund? Okay. Okay, so moving on to highway funds, let's go back and look at the salaries here. We did make a couple of adjustments here. You'll see that we had previously budgeted for 2 public works coordinators. We're gonna move one of those to Shine. So that's gonna be moved off to highway cash. So you'll see the less that amount there and the note there to the side. So we are moving 1 employee over to Shine. You'll see the 2 that are there from 6 months out of the year. We are wanting to, we're not really changing the bottom line at all. We're just kind of making some adjustments here. We are wanting to add 3 laborers, and you'll see that in the new positions, because those will be 3 additional laborers to what we have had. But I've kind of moved things around. You'll see that we have previously budgeted for 11 truck drivers, and we dumbed that down to kind of offset the cost for the laborers. So even though we're adding those 3 positions, it's not gonna affect the bottom line. And I think those are the most noteworthy changes here.
I don't think we've ever gone depth on highway funds before. I don't remember ever discussing our highway plans. I'm like.
Well,
Read. No,
ask
kidding.
away.
No, I was like, hurry up and read mine.
Oh, you're next, you're next.
He's teed up.
I got some questions for you.
Here we go.
All right.
Let me circle back.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna do a lot of circling back.
Well, it's not my fault you're not prepared.
Right? Right?
He's gonna make a motion to table his item.
Right.
That's funny.
All right. If there's no other questions or commentary on item number 9, move to item 10. Review FY 21-22 estimate of needs for District 3. Would you like to start with general fund or highway cash?
Hey, let's tee it up where I know. No. So we'll start with general fund. Keep it orderly. Essentially, Gabriel's cheaper than Jane, so you'll see that our salaries and wages actually went down 2,000. Everything else I remained pretty flat, if not exactly flat. And you'll see that 800,000, Christie down at maintenance and operations.
You got 800,000?
Yeah.
I have no idea, I thought it was 777.
Yeah.
So did I.
That's what you get.
Well, come on now.
Oh,
Share the wealth.
I'll tell you what, we're gonna put 87.5% of it back, and then when you need it, that difference will get you. Send me up on that one later. So yeah, ours is pretty basic, pretty straightforward. You'll actually see a reduction in fringe, 12,000. Bit of an oddity. And then our general fund request is, like I said, 2,000 less, so. Any questions on the easy one?
Is that a formula error too on the bottom line where it says, looks like you're asking for 19.9 more? That should be way less, right?
No, because we didn't include the negative 800,000, because that was gonna skew it real bad.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
so I misspoke, you're right, I'm up $19,960 increase. You're right. So off to highway cash. I'll read along with you guys. No new positions. Any questions?
You have a temporary, you're wanting to do a temporary?
They already have it.
I already have, yeah, one scheduled temporary that we do a year, and it's during the summer months.
Oh.
What do you mean you already have it?
Like we use it
It's
now.
not a new
Yeah.
position.
It's not a new position.
It's
But
been
it's
budgeted,
Temporary.
it's been budgeted before.
Yeah,
But it's not in the left.
Yeah, it is. 29 and 29. It's there.
see total down on the
It's
bottom,
not there.
next
Under
to one
temporary.
point 528,944.60,
Okay.
29 and 20, yeah. We may, depending on what our receipts look like, so far they look great. But as gas prices go up, we all know that those will go down. So it'd be nice if we hired another temporary one or two, and we may do that. You can still. And we, especially since we're not running DOC crews, that's where we use to fill in on that DOC crew, side of it.
Is that like mowing and?
That's exactly what they do. We just purchased 2 new zero turns. They will save us money by going out in front, removing the trash, the debris, doing the short cutting, and
Right.
then the big bat wings, and et cetera, come through. And so we're not breaking the big pieces, we're breaking small pieces, essentially. So,
We hit telephone boxes.
yeah,
That are under
yeah,
15 feet of Johnson grass.
yeah. If we hit them with a zero turn, it's just gonna fall.
Yeah.
We're not replacing the $150,000 away.
All right, any questions before we get through 3? Seeing none. Item number 11, review fiscal year 21-22 estimate of needs for court clerk. Amy?
I'd like to begin on the report and estimate of earnings page. I plugged in the same number as we have the previous years. Just wanted to remind you that this is subject to Supreme Court budget approval. It's not been approved as of yet. We turn in our budgets May. We'll know something in June. So just reminding everyone that this is not a done deal. So it has to be approved by the Supreme Court. Okay.
But we'll have an answer before June 30th, right?
Yes.
Don't we need it before that?
Huh?
We need it before that, don't we?
Well, we do, but
45-day protest or whatever, 30-day protest?
you said May 1st. so
May 1st, hopefully. It's in
You'll
June,
have
but I
May
don't
1st,
know
right?
exactly
So-
to be approved for
The
our
good
budget.
thing is the state's flush.
So, I'm just reminding you that it has to be approved. It has to be in our budget to be able to pay. Okay, let's go over, I just wanna do like an overall first. We are asking for an increase this year compared to last year. Our total increase is $757,402.07. I'm gonna go down each category and kinda explain. If we go to the salary and wage, as you know, the elected official got an increase, so we're including that along with the chief deputy increase to go along with that. We are asking for an additional $300,000. This is basically to maintain our goals we have achieved so far. We worked so hard the last few years to get where we are right now that we just want to maintain where we are. The support from the county has truly made a difference. If you compare where we started with where we are now, our starting salary has increased, our average rate paid has increased. I mean, you can tell the difference. We're just asking the continued support. Just saying, we would not be where we are today without the increases in our budget. Again, we're just asking to help maintain our gains that we have worked so hard to achieve today. Let's see, let's go to the fringe section. The fringe does reflect that increase in the ask. Also, it includes the employer increase. And also, we do have more employees taking out insurance at this time. That may fluctuate, but it was the February's numbers I used, so. Let's see, our travel remains the same.
So you're saying your numbers of the 123 are based on February numbers?
Yeah, I got them from benefits, so that's where the numbers come from. Okay, go back to where travel goes. Travel remained the same. M&O, I'm just asking to move that $99 from that transponder line item to the subscription. That $159 bothers me. I want, the transponders now are just $20 a piece, so we don't need $159. And then I am asking this year for a parking increase. The last few years, last year I had to transfer money into M&O. This year I'm expecting transfer money into M&O, and so I'm just asking to increase our parking for next year.
Now, if your employees haven't gone up, why the increase in the?
Well, at a certain point in time, we were offered, down in the basement, we were offered, parking spots,
And they're
and that,
at your higher rate.
at a higher rate, and I believe we didn't, like, we kept them, but we also,
Covered it with something else.
yes, yeah, so. And that happened, it's like we had one for a long time, and we were on the waiting list, and then all of a sudden, several opened up at once, so we were able to get those spots. Let's see, and capital. Capital, we are requesting an additional $50,000 this year. Last year, we did request $100,000, but we were only approved for $50,000. We currently are remodeling. There was an old investigator area on the 4th floor. We have started to remodel that to the new accounting / purchasing, our supply room area. So I'm very excited to work in the new space. But our goal is to remodel our entire office. As you know, our floor did not get remodeled with the other floors when the second floor got remodeled. So we are just wanting our employees and our customers to be able to work and conduct business in a safe and pleasant environment. So that is my estimate of needs for this year.
Amy, on the 300, will that be, if you get that money, are you increasing starting salaries, or is it?
Well, what happens is, like, with the COLA, when we get the COLA, that will change that. And that actually, 300,000 is, we still have a plan, and it's to still bring people, increase their salaries at the rate or plan. That makes sense. It's still, yeah.
I thought we had talked about, I thought we had done a plan for y'all to get y'all caught up. And then the COLAs have been 2 or 3 years, so everyone's gotten that.
Right,
So
yes.
I just didn't know why the bigger amount.
Well, we have gave raises plus the COLA, if that makes sense. Like, we didn't, I guess we compensated for the COLA, if that makes sense. We didn't keep our plan static. We increased it as the COLA increased.
But you were funded for the COLA.
Yes, we were, yeah. I'm just saying everything went with it.
What
If that makes
Christie's saying is it's a zero sum, because even though the COLA added to it changed your plan, you got more money
right.
to
On
add
top
to
of
it
yes.
on top of it, so
Yes.
that's
Yes.
really not part of the equation.
Right.
And Christie, I do believe we did the 4-year plan, I think, and last year was the last year.
Really kind of committed to doing that.
Yeah.
We just don't wanna get caught in where, here we are, we're at a good place, we wanna continue on. We just don't want, like, to end up where we started from, with the other offices being able to give raises and without us to be able to give raises, if that makes sense. We still wanna continue on as,
Well, I think
understand
as
fair.
far as raises and COLAs are concerned, that'll be something that we're gonna address globally, right? I mean, that's kind of what we talked about at the beginning of this, that,
That's what it's been the past couple of years.
yeah. You know,
But the odd thing, unless we're gonna ask everybody to go back and redo their sheet, is we didn't ask them to do a 3% COLA and then
We did that on purpose.
Mhm.
right.
Every time we were backing it out,
I remember that part.
and so we decided not to ask for it, and then,
We'll
not
just-
saying we won't address it,
We'll
we
just do it globally.
yeah,
Yes.
it was just,
Like,
these were
Alright, thank you.
clear that, cause we'd always back them out, and then.
Alright, yeah. That makes sense.
So is
I
the
remember
three hundred
discussion
thousand
now.
a continuation of the pay parity? You still feel that other offices have been able to give raises, so you wanna be able to keep up with that, even though
Yes.
we did the 4 years
Yes.
to kind of get
Yes.
you to that point?
yes,
But
yes.
whenever we gave money to other offices to give raises, for instance, last year, we gave that to you guys as well to give the raises. So just like the COLA, that stuff, that should have all offset, unless I'm missing something.
You're saying everybody raised in the same rates. So they were trying to close this gap. They were saying that, and correct me if I'm wrong, yet they're saying that the gap stayed the same.
But it didn't,
But it
because
didn't,
they
because
were
we
on
spent
that
4
4-year
years
plan
working
to
on
get
it.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe I'm mistaken, but if you're, and I mean, obviously I'm newer to this group, but if you give 3% to somebody who makes 50,000, 3% to somebody who makes 45,000, the
Yeah.
gap has gotten larger. It has not stayed the same.
No.
Mathematically speaking. So, maybe that's what you're trying to,
We're just concerned that if we go forward, we just don't wanna start where we have left. You know, we've come so far, we're just wanting to make sure that we don't have to start from scratch again, which I know we won't, because we have made a big difference in our average starting salary and our pay. It's just to keep us in line, I guess is what I'm trying to say. to
Well,
keep
and that's
us
where,
going
if we're gonna
forward.
address it globally,
Yeah.
then if the treasurer's office gets, not discussing COLA, just merit-based pay increases, if they get 5% of their salaries to be able to do that, then you guys would get 5% for your salaries to do it as well. So by doing the 4-year plan, if that caught us up, if we're looking at each office and doing the same percentage global, then it should keep it up so that you're not falling behind in the future, because I understand that concern. I mean, we don't want to get back in that situation, but I think addressing it globally helps alleviate that.
And that feels you feel like that is good for you? Or are you still on
Well, I
request
still-
of 300?
I mean, I know we have a plan, I know, I've done an estimated of next year as to who needs to go where, and, you know, there's still a need, we
Right.
still have a need. I don't know if the COLA is going to be, I guess, enough to cover that need, so, yeah.
Basing your COLA.
Yeah, I just have to see what we end up with and where we're going, so, that's my concern, is to keep us on the same track as the other offices, and to not undo what we've already did,
Well, we're not approving anything today, so.
yeah,
Right.
Have a discussion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Seeing no other discussion on that item, on to number 12, does anybody have anything on 12? If not, I'll skip it. Anything on 13? We're still really early, seeing none. Any citizens that wish to participate? No. Board comments, District 2,
No, thank you.
District 3,
No, sir.
clerk, treasurer, court clerk,
No, thank you.
assessor,
No, thank you. I already made a motion.
and none for me. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Do
Objection.
we have a second?
Second.
Sorry,
Those in
I
favor
didn't catch
say
it.
aye.
Who made that
Aye.
motion?
Brandon.
Brandon and Brandy.
We're adjourned, y'all. Guess what? We will see each other tomorrow at 1.
Senate Bill 688 is what you were talking about.
I do.